4 years after its release, the ever-improving tree chopping, stone whacking, grass whipping, flower picking, fishing, farming, fighting, inventory management, relationship life simulator Stardew Valley has cemented itself as one of the all-time great indie games. Every now and then I find myself being drawn back to this one-man masterpiece. Every time I re-find it, I feel the same fascination, the same wonderment, the same love that I felt the first time, and it reminds me why this game is truly a classic. Stardew Valley is a sandbox RPG with some of the most fleshed out RPG elements of any game, period. But at its core, it's a game about making fat stacks and building a dope-ass farm. In vague terms, most of the game is spent acquiring items, selling them, getting cash money, buying or crafting better items, making more money, and repeat. To help you build the farm of your dreams, the game provides you with a plethora of items which are fun, cute, nice, functional, all of it. These vary from statues to paths to machinery to the 8 collectible rarecrows. The game gives you the space and tools to build how you want, to let your personality flow into your farm's creation. Aesthetics aside, Stardew Valley also lets you create a money-making enterprise where quaint old Pelican Town starts to hail its farmer moneybags overlord. You start simple with a cute patch of 15 parsnips, sure, but next thing you know, you've lined up a wine-making, jam-producing, diamond-duplicating juggernaut with enough gold to buy out Pierre's and Jojo Mart. But why? Why do this? Well, because the game is fun, but also because of Stardew Valley's mastery of goal setting and progression systems. Let's look at the first quest, Getting Started, where you harvest a parsnip. Simple enough. You get the parsnip from your chest, you realize you need to clear space on your farm, so you learn how to use the scythe to thwack away grass and weeds, the axe to chop trees and trunks, the pickaxe to clear rocks, the hoe to hoe the ground, the watering can to watering can. Not only does this give you direction, it teaches you about the game and how to play it. It also tells you what you can expect from the game. The player now knows they will get some direction from the game, but decisions on how to achieve this is up to them. More so, the player learns the goal itself isn't the fun part, it's the journey along the way. All of this is truly excellent game design. Although this isn't unique to Stardew Valley, this concept is ubiquitous in modern gaming. Every game has some sort of esoteric progression system pushing the player forward, giving them a sense of accomplishment for every minute played, even when they're failing. Common versions are leveling up, collectibles, new items, new abilities, competitive ladders, global stat counting, and so on and so on. Stardew Valley just executes these classic gaming principles excellently, and completely stuffs the game with them, from quests to the community center to the leveling system to the monster killed counter to the almighty money earned. Beyond teaching the player about the various mechanics or giving them direction, they also manage to give the player a purpose, which for a sandbox game is key. You're not just housing sheep for wool, you're doing it to fill out the box in the community center. You're not just going to the Skull Caverns for iridium, you're doing it so you can make iridium sprinklers, letting you leave the watering can where it belongs, in a chest. Stardew Valley is a grindy game, and it knows it. And these progression systems help the game avoid becoming stale, frustrating, or directionless. Most of the time anyway. Instead, the player gets a sense of self-satisfaction and a sweet, sweet, ever-coveted dopamine hit every time they do something. Anything. And they're a huge reason why so many players don't have 12 hours in this game, they have hundreds. Overall, the moniker of Farming Simulator severely simplifies the true enormity of Stardew Valley, but, admittedly, farming is one of the core aspects of the game. Farming in this game is great. Let me rephrase. Farming plants is great. Wait, let me rephrase. Harvesting plants is great. I mean, look at me scything this wheat, the way it cuts through, the beautiful popping sound that accompanies it. And look at me picking all these cranberries, the way they pop, the way they bounce, the rustle of the bush. It's all amazing, it's all so satisfying. Now look at me individually, one by one, water these potatoes. Sure, the water sound is nice, and the little puddle is cool to see emerge, but oh my god, I'm still going, and I have so many I still have to do. Watering can, will you ever leave my hand? I'm still going, and I have to do this every single day. Please let it rain tomorrow. Wash away this mundanity. This is where the grindy nature of Stardew Valley goes from being a collection of really fun, enjoyable tasks to a collection of burdens that make you want to turn the game off. Sometimes it's incredibly satisfying and you feel an amazing sense of accomplishment. but other times it's straight up a slog. This, I believe, is perfectly demonstrated by the mighty meh-ness that is animals. And I should preface with saying I'm about to lightly criticize the game, but these are basically my only criticism. This game is amazing, and most of this video is just showering it with absolute praise, which it deserves. Animals in this game are firstly really expensive and take a while to acquire. Well then, they probably make a bunch of money, right? Nope, they don't. Plants are almost always more profitable. Well, then they must be really fun to take care of, right? Not really. Interacting with animals for hearts or for milk is just kind of whatever. Plus, it's pretty tedious having to fill up the hay troughs each day, and having grass outside their barns never really works as well as it probably should. You can't even really just automate animals in the same way you can plants, where once you set up sprinklers, all you gotta do is reap those hot rewards and heyo, check me out, harvesting all my cranberries. No, animals are a constant effort and really time consuming for minimal gain. The best thing animals have going for them is that they're animals, and it's pretty cool to have a duck called Elmo or a pig called Professor Oinkins or whatever you want to call them, and I'm really glad they're in the game because I get to walk past and I'm like, hey duck, and that makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. But apart from that, I don't know, they're just a part of the game, and for something that's so crucial in a farming game, it feels like they should just be better, be more fun. This goes the same for inventory management in Stardew Valley. If I could sum up Stardew Valley in one picture, if I was being honest with myself, I'd need to pick this. So much of this game is inventory management, and to a degree, the game kind of lives and dies on how much you enjoy or can tolerate moving stuff from this collection of squares to this collection of squares. When I play the game, I spend so much time just walking from chest to chest, depositing items, moving them around, organizing, and it's not fun. I adore Stardew Valley, and this game is still amazing, but the fact that the mechanic me and probably most players spend the majority of their time interacting with is the chest inventory management system is not great. In fact, it's the opposite of not great. It's really not great. But this is the worst thing about Stardew Valley, and honestly, it's not that bad. Having a decked out, color coordinated, hi-fi, fully loaded chest system which you can work fluidly is incredibly satisfying. Plus, you can shift click to easily send items up and down. On top of this, the game provides you with this button, which lets you store items from your inventory into a chest with those same items. All of this is a lot better than most games ever come close to. A random part of the video which doesn't really have a fluid segue from one part to the next sounds like the perfect place for foraging. Literally just picking stuff off the ground. Also getting to mush these bushes like crazy for a couple days a year to get a dealer's worth of berries. I assume this exists to make the possibly mundane walking from one place to another a high-octane, purpose-filled, reward-laden X-game level adrenaline rush. The game is like, oh hey, you're walking back to your farm, I just thought I'd leave some wild plums on the ground here for you to pick up. And we run over and we're like, oh my god, wild plums, so cool. And the game's like, you like it when I leave wild plums on the ground for you to pick up, don't you? And we're like, yeah, I like it when you leave wild plums on the ground for me to pick up. Anyway, that's foraging, 10 out of 10, would do again. Stardew Valley has 3 separate cave/dungeon crawls. Count them, 3. 1, 2, 2.5. The game provides you with a 120 floor dungeon crawl with individual floors having a preset design and randomized interiors. Each section has its own vibes, own items, own enemies, and feels unique. After providing you with a very in-depth cave system, the game amps it up with the infinite floors of skull caverns. Harder enemies, better loot, more depth. These caverns function as your standard ever-repeatable loot and enemy section of the game and are incredibly enjoyable. The combination of mining ores and gems and finding the occasional barrel of random stuff is really fun. The clearing of every rock on a floor to find the ladder on the last one though is not fun. It sucks. Why are you doing this to me? The game also makes this much harder with a slew of different and fairly interesting enemies. For what is a simple game, Stardew Valley does not mess around with the difficulty of the caverns. Combat is hard and killing enemies can be really troublesome. Charging in and just swinging your sword wildly is not the tactic you want to use, especially on more difficult levels. You legitimately need to plan your attack strategies. Which rocks are you going to mine and which are you going to use as choke points? Picking off enemies one at a time becomes crucial because getting swarmed by a group can mean instant death, which equals a loss of items and money. Sure, you can just eat food to regain health, but food is money, so being too liberal with your food consumption will start to hurt your profit margin. And I'm here to mine ores and make money, not mine ores and break even. Wait, what? While the complexity and depth of the cave with their own combat and mining systems are incredible, it is also an example of how the game almost always gives you another way to do something. You can just not go to the caves, you never need to. You might think, well, you can't get ores to upgrade your tools and craft items, but nope. You can buy ores from Clint, and sure, it's more expensive to do it this way, but you can still do it this way. Well, he doesn't sell iridium, so you can't get all the best items, you jeer in a strangely antagonistic manner. Well, alright, straw person. If you're real good at the picking up portions things of the game and complete the community center foraging bundle, you can unlock the quarry, where you can mine ores and gems, including iridium. Yeah, this isn't the most effective way to get ores, but it shows how you can miss a huge component of the game and not be punished for it. This is mesmerizingly amazing when you consider the game applies this principle to its main game mechanics. Let's look at fishing. Fishing basically consists of tactical clicking to ensure the green bar stays under the fish icon. You catch fish, you sell them, or you just hoard them for no reason, then you catch more difficult fish, and every now and then the game gives you extra treasure because Stardew Valley loves to reward you. It even rewards you for just playing the game well and incentivizes you to do so. Gotta cast it max, gotta catch it perfect. Ooh, it does nothing, but it feels so good. Anytime you can ask, did I do good, Stardew Valley? The game has already given you a nice sound effects, a little reward, and a thumbs up while saying, good job, champ. So that's fishing, and it's more or less a totally superfluous aspect of the game. You don't need to fish. It does not matter if you ever fish. Let that sink in. One of the central pillars of the game can be cast off entirely, waved goodbye to, and it does not matter. And this applies to all the central pillars of the game. As I said, you don't need to go to the caves, you don't need to build up relationships, you don't even need to farm. Literally, no aspect of the game is vital. So few games have the audacity to have their major fundamental pillars be non-essential, while simultaneously not hamstringing the player for not doing them. What I think makes this so special is that while no aspect is essential or required at all, any of these aspects can be the central experience for somebody playing Stardew Valley. You could have one person who mostly fishes and another that literally never fishes, and neither player would feel like they aren't playing the game properly. And that's incredibly amazing for any game, let alone an indie RPG. The area I think this concept is most likely to be apparent is relationships. In Stardew Valley, you can befriend most of the characters in the game. This is capstoned by the ability to choose one of a list of eligibles who you can marry and even have kids with. The relationship mechanic mostly consists of going to the Stardew wiki, seeing what item the character likes and giving that to them twice a week until their heart meter fills up. Or if you're like me, you just carry around flowers, one of the universal likes, and give them to people whenever you see them. I can easily see relationships and marriage being something one player never does, while another player has this as the main focus of their game, making sure to always scour the wiki for various character loves, personalizing their farm around those, and making sure they always bring the various characters birthday gifts. And for this player, they'll be rewarded. Although they won't just be rewarded with things, but immense depth. Stardew Valley time and time again proves itself to have so much more complexity than the player expects. For example, the relationships mechanic is more than just filling up the heart meter. Every character has their own developing storyline, with cutscenes and interactive choices. When people talk about Stardew Valley, they often say it doesn't really have a plot, and I think this undersells the amount of these character plots that exist, and this in turn undermines the amazing writing which is littered throughout the game. The writing can be smart, self-aware, heartfelt, everything. Take this scene with Harvey for the checkup. The game did an amazing job at making me feel like I was really at the doctor's while conveying the character of Harvey. Furthermore, when the dialogue option came up, I felt like one of them really spoke to me, and this was always how I felt when one of these dialogue options came up. When a game is writing dialogue for you, the player, often I find it never really represents my thoughts, but somehow Stardew Valley basically always gave me an option that felt right. This is, in large part, due to the incredible amount of work the writing does of setting the scene, creating a realistic interaction, and understanding the psychology that the interaction might evoke. The game doesn't need to do this at all, but it does, and that's Stardew Valley. The game is way deeper and way more detailed in every respect than it needs to be, and it's a huge reason why this game is all-time legendary and not just another pretty solid indie game. I mean, the game could just start and say, hey, you're a farmer, have fun, and we'd all be like, cool. But no, that's way too simple for Stardew Valley. Instead, the game starts you with your grandfather dying. Then it cuts to you silently crying in a cubicle as you work in a bleak dystopian office so brutally broken and demoralized by the hellscape of modern neoliberalism you need to fully escape and start a new life. And that's why you become a farmer. Have fun. The writing in Stardew Valley is great, but the sound design is all-time legendary. To kickstart, the soundtrack is literally banger after banger. I'm talking hit the club and request it to the DJ level good, only to realize the dance floor is already vibing on Fall, the Smell of Mushroom. These songs set the tone for each season, each circumstance, each area, and are a significant reason why each aspect of the game feels so special. But it's not the songs that make the sound design legendary, it's the actual sounds. Every little thing you do is accompanied by a special noise which amplifies the satisfaction of doing it massively. Take something like fishing, the casting sound, the plop of the hook in the water, the reeling sound, the catch sound. All of these make the pretty basic fishing minigame so much better. And these exist for everything. All of them so in tune with the game and so auditorily visceral in a way that makes the game feel so much better to play. Overall, the game is beautiful, but the tone setter for this is the art style. I love the art style of Stardew Valley. Something about it so perfectly encapsulates the aura the game exudes at every moment. It's so simple, but yet so complex and so detailed. The sprites for everything are so delightful and bubbly. There's not much more to say than just look at it. It looks and feels exactly like Stardew Valley should. Stardew Valley is a truly immense game with so many aspects, all of which have their own winding rabbit holes. During this video, I barely scratched the surface of any of them. Each one could legitimately have their own 10-20 minute saga solely dedicated to them. Further than that, there's so many parts I straight up didn't talk about. Artisan goods, crafting, cooking, the perk tree, co-op, the museum, the constantly yearly town events, and so much more. All of which deserve evaluations in their own right. But that's just the greatness of Stardew Valley, a seemingly simple game that throws so much gameplay at you. So many areas, so many ways to play it, that even after hundreds of hours, I feel like I could easily spend hundreds more and still not have uncovered every secret or fully engaged with every aspect. And that's why, to me, Stardew Valley is truly a masterpiece, a one-of-a-kind game that continues to get better and better. It's cemented itself as my go-to suggestion when anyone asks me for a game. Stardew Valley is the best, and sometimes you say that and you don't really mean it. But when I say Stardew Valley is the best, I mean it. I really do.